Hi, I'm Nancy Tyree, the Agency Initiatives Manager with the Indiana Department of Revenue, also known as DOR. In this presentation, we'll be discussing Indiana's Tax Amnesty 2026 program, including what it is, how you can learn more about your eligibility, and how to participate. While this information is accurate and up to date to the best of our abilities, please be aware that it is subject to change and meant to provide general information rather than guidance on any specific tax situations. Later on, I'll talk about the best ways to find information, stay up to date, and talk to amnesty experts during the official amnesty period. So let's get into it with some basic information about Tax Amnesty 2026. Last year, House Enrolled Act 1001 was signed into law, which requires DOR to conduct a tax amnesty program. Similar programs took place in 2015 and 2005. So if this sounds familiar to you, that might be why. As with past amnesty programs, this program is meant to benefit taxpayers who have outstanding tax liabilities by allowing them to pay off their tax liabilities during a specific window of time, without also needing to pay any of the accrued penalties, interest, or collection fees. The official amnesty period is an 8-week window this year, running from July 15th to September 9th, 2026. DOR is partnering with United Collection Bureau, UCB, to administer this program. One of the best resources to get information about amnesty leading up to when it begins and during the program is the Tax Amnesty website, which I've included the URL for here. It is taxamnesty.in.gov. I'll refer to this website a few times throughout the presentation, so I wanted to make sure you had that URL up front. Now let's discuss who can participate in amnesty. There are two things that can impact whether you qualify: you, the taxpayer, and the liabilities you have. Let's start with the liabilities. To participate, your liability must be for a tax that is collected and administered by DOR or Motor Carrier Services, MCS. That includes things like Indiana individual income tax, sales tax, withholding, corporate taxes, and so on. When it comes to MCS, that includes things like IFTA or IRP liabilities for Indiana specifically. If you have liabilities for anything else, such as property taxes, federal taxes, or taxes owed to other states, they are not eligible for this program. The other big factor is the period in which your taxes were originally due. If your liability is for a tax period ending before January 1st, 2024, it will be eligible. If it's for a more recent tax period, it will not be. For example, if you filed your Indiana individual income tax return for 2025 a few months ago, and you owe taxes on that return, those liabilities won't qualify for Tax Amnesty 2026 because they are too recent. If you have older liabilities, particularly anything due in 2023 or before, they will be eligible. As for what kind of taxpayer qualifies, the answer is most of them. Individuals and businesses can both take part. Residency status also doesn't impact your ability to qualify. If you're required to file Indiana tax returns and you have qualifying liabilities based on what we covered in the last section of the presentation, you can participate. The easiest way to know if you're eligible is by checking your mail. UCB and DOR are sending letters in the mail to taxpayers that our records indicate have liabilities and are eligible to take part. However, it is possible for a taxpayer to be eligible and have not received a letter, especially if the address we have on file with you is out of date. If you meet all of the qualifications already discussed but don't have a letter, you can still participate, and I'll talk more about how to do that in a moment. As for who cannot participate, the biggest disqualifying factor is previous amnesty participation. If you paid an amnesty-eligible liability in full and had related penalties, interests, and collection fees waived during 2015 or 2005, you will not be eligible to participate in Tax Amnesty 2026, even if you're otherwise fully eligible. Be aware, however, if you started progress on paying your liabilities during one of the last amnesty programs, but did not end up paying all liabilities in full before the respective amnesty cutoffs, you technically did not participate. Therefore, you would be eligible to participate now. There are a few other factors that may disqualify you. For example, you can't participate on behalf of a deceased taxpayer, or if you have been found to have previously filed a fraudulent return. These are relatively rare situations. Amnesty participation is not mandatory. It's an opportunity for customers to be relieved of penalty and interest without incurring any new assessed penalties. That being said, it's important to be aware that if you qualify but choose not to participate, your penalties will increase after the end of the Tax Amnesty 2026 window. This doesn't apply if the only liabilities you owe are from 2023. Your penalties will remain the same after the amnesty window closes. Also, there are certain groups who are able to take advantage of amnesty but will face no additional penalties if they choose not to participate. These are very specific groups, and I'll go into detail on them later in the presentation. So make sure to keep all of this in mind when deciding whether or not you want to take part. Now let's go over some key dates in the Tax Amnesty 2026 timeline. Starting May 18th, you can check your eligibility on InTime, which I'll talk more about in the next section. The official amnesty window lasts from July 15th to September 9th. And finally, if you set up an amnesty payment plan during that window, you'll have until June 7th, 2027 to pay it in full. A few other things to keep in mind related to the amnesty timeline. From March 31st through July 15th, taxpayers with amnesty-eligible liabilities will not be able to set up payment plans for those liabilities because they will be temporarily on hold and will not continue moving along in our collections process during that time. Customers can still make a one-time payment or wait until July 15th and set up a payment plan for those liabilities then if they choose. This restriction is aimed at making sure customers who qualify for amnesty can take full advantage of it. While you can check eligibility as soon as May 18th, you won't be able to make any amnesty payments until amnesty officially begins. So May 18th through July 14th is a good time to do whatever you need to do on your end to get ready to make your payments. July 15th is the first official date when you can start paying your liabilities or contact us to set up a payment plan. You can continue doing that through September 9th, 2026, which gives everyone 40 business days. If you don't think you can pay in full by September 9th, please set up a payment plan, which will give you until June 7th, 2027 to finish making payments. You cannot establish an amnesty payment plan outside of the official amnesty window. So if you haven't done that or paid in full by September 9th, you won't be able to participate in Tax Amnesty 2026. Now that we've gone over the basics of amnesty, I'm going to show you how you can find out if you have amnesty-eligible liabilities yourself online right now, using DOOR's Eligibility Tool on InTime. The Eligibility Tool is on InTime, DOOR's e-services portal for Indiana taxpayers. Visit it by typing this URL into your browser of choice, intime.dor.in.gov. The Eligibility Tool allows you to enter some basic information so you can learn if you have amnesty-eligible liabilities. Using the tool does not lock you into participating in amnesty in any way. It is just a tool you can use to learn if you're eligible. If you use the tool and find out that you're eligible, you can then either log into your existing account if you have one, or create a new account if not, to learn more about the details of your liabilities, send us messages, and more. I'll walk you through all of that as we go. So let's dive right in. First, we're going to navigate to InTime. This is the home page. If you want to log in, you can do that in the top right corner. But like I said before, we can use the eligibility tool whether we have an account or not. So let's try that. The first panel on the left side of the screen, titled Tax Amnesty 2026 Eligibility Tool, is what we want to use. If you click on the second link in that panel, it will take you to the Tax Amnesty 2026 website that I mentioned earlier. For now, you'll want to select Check if you are eligible. Clicking that link will take us to this page, which gives us more information about Amnesty and what you need to use the tool. Most of the information should be things you already have access to, such as a name, ID, Amnesty case ID, a line item from a previous tax return, a recent payment amount, or a letter ID from any previous mail that we've sent you. If you don't know what the Amnesty case ID is, most taxpayers with eligible liabilities will be receiving a letter in the mail from UCB informing you that you qualify to participate in Amnesty and explaining the basics of how it works. If you receive one of these letters, it should contain an Amnesty case ID, which you can use here to verify your identity. If you lost your letter or never received one, you can still use this tool without it. You'll just supply one of the other pieces of information listed here. Once you've read everything, select the Next button at the bottom of the screen. The next page will ask if you're a business or individual. If you select Individual and hit Next, you'll be taken to a page that asks for more information. Enter that and select Next again. If you select Business and hit Next, the following page will be very similar. It will just ask for an FEIN or TID as your ID type options instead of what's being displayed on your screen right now. Next is the page that asks us to verify our identity. This is how the page will appear for individuals. Do not adjust the menu choice on the tax account type line if you're an individual. Instead, let's check out the next line. If you have a case ID, you'll select Yes and enter it in the field below. If you select No, you can access a drop-down menu of options and choose any of them, enter that information, then select Next again. The page I just showed you will be a little different for businesses. Here, the tax account type field will give you a large selection of account types to choose from. If you have multiple tax accounts, for example, a business with sales tax, withholding, and corporate income tax, you just need to select one of those here for verification purposes. The tool will assess if you're eligible with any of the accounts you hold, not just the one you choose here. So you won't have to perform this step multiple times. For this example business, we'll select Sales Tax and enter the Amnesty case ID, then select Next. This is what will be displayed if you're eligible for Tax Amnesty 2026. It's the same for businesses and individuals, so this applies to both of the examples I just showed you. You'll need to sign up for or log into an existing InTime account to get more details about your liability. But before we go any further, if you're using this tool before July 15th, 2026, and it says you're eligible, I'd recommend selecting Yes under the text on this page that says, would you like to sign up for email reminders for Tax Amnesty 2026? That way, you'll get a reminder email close to when Amnesty begins, and another at the end of August if you still haven't taken any action. Note, this screen won't be available on the eligibility tool after August 24th. If you don't want an email reminder, select No. Either way, you can wrap everything up with the tool by selecting Next, then Submit on the next page. And remember, you're not locking into using Amnesty by hitting Submit at the end. This eligibility tool doesn't do that. It will just take you to a confirmation page. If you signed up for Tax Amnesty 2026 email reminders, you must hit Next and Submit in order to get those reminders. Once you do that, you'll get a confirmation email at the address you entered, and will also get those reminders when Amnesty begins. If you're ineligible, you'll get a screen that appears like this instead. This particular taxpayer has liabilities for 2025, which aren't eligible for amnesty, and so the page states that this taxpayer has no eligible liabilities. If you enter information that doesn't match any of our existing records, this message will state that at the top, but otherwise will be similar. And that is the eligibility tool. It's pretty basic, especially if you're not logged in. So if you want to know more about any eligible liabilities you have, the best way to do that is by logging into an existing account or creating a new one if you don't have one already. If you use this tool and don't have an InTime account, the last screen will ask if you want to sign up for InTime, and you can do that right here in the eligibility tool. If you already have an account, you probably know how to log in, so let's show you where you can find amnesty information in your account. This is the first page you'll be directed to once you log into InTime, your logged in landing page. The first panel is dedicated to amnesty, so all users will know right away if they're eligible. I'm showing you an example of an eligible individual. In fact, it's the same one we used earlier in the eligibility tool. So while the tool just shared that they were eligible in general, this person's InTime account gives us much more detail, including exactly how much this person would owe during amnesty if they participate. Now I'm showing you how the same page will appear for a business user. The amnesty panel at the top is very similar, but since their liability is for sales tax rather than individual income tax, the panels below that will give more details on their liabilities. On the right side of the screen in the Amnesty panel, there are several links you can click on to learn more. These are the same for eligible individuals and businesses. Let's review these options. The second one, View More Information about Tax Amnesty 2026, will take you to the Tax Amnesty website. For now, let's focus on the other three options in this panel. If you select View Your Amnesty Eligibility, you'll be taken to a page that shows you that you're eligible to participate, that your liabilities are eligible, and what your amnesty balance is, meaning what you'd owe if you participate. For more details about this balance, go back to the previous page and select View Amnesty Case Detail. This shows us things like if you've opted into participating in amnesty, what the total balance is, if you're on a payment plan, and what penalties you've accrued on this liability that will be waived if you participate in amnesty. If you select Ask a Question about Amnesty on the first page, you'll be directed to a page where you can tell us which account your message is concerning. This user can either tell us the message is about no specific account, which you might want to select if you just have a general question about amnesty, or about their individual income account. If we choose individual and hit next, we can then specify the period and hit next one more time. The last page is where you can type your message and ask your question. There will be a field where you can also include an attachment. Once you submit your message, it will be sent to the DOOR Amnesty Escalation Team, who will respond to your question. InTime messaging is a good way to ask questions about your particular situation and tax account without needing to call us. Now let's switch gears a little, and I'll show you what would be displayed for people who are logged into their InTime account but are ineligible for amnesty. On the landing page, the Tax Amnesty panel is still listed at the top, but here it states you have no amnesty eligible liabilities. If you select View Your Amnesty Eligibility, it will take you to a page that says you have no amnesty eligible liabilities. If you still aren't sure why you're ineligible, you might want to go back to the landing page and scroll down until you find a link that says View Financial Summary, Returns, and Periods. Click on that and you'll be able to see if you have any existing liabilities and what they are. For the example customer displayed here on screen, the financial summary shows that they have a liability, but it was from 2025, which is not an eligible period for amnesty. Now that I've given you the basics on amnesty eligibility and the tool, let's discuss a little more about what participation in the program starting on July 15th will be like. If you want to participate, the first thing you should do is check your eligibility using our tool or by logging in and checking the amnesty panel in your InTime account, as I already described. If you've done that and are told you have no eligible liabilities, but you think you should have one, please verify that you have accurately filed all required tax returns. We may not know about a liability if you haven't filed the associated return in the first place. You can find more instructions about how to file a missing return on the Tax Amnesty website listed on the screen. Remember, July 15th through September 9th is the official amnesty window. That is the only time when you can get enrolled in amnesty and either pay in full or set up an amnesty payment plan. If you set up a payment plan during that window, you give yourself more time to pay and will have until June 7th, 2027 to pay in full. There are a variety of ways to make amnesty payments. Keep in mind, you cannot make any payments before July 15th. The easiest way to pay is by working directly with UCB by calling their amnesty phone line. You'll also be able to use InTime to make payments online. You can schedule an appointment at any door office to make a payment in person. Note, some offices may require an appointment. See the website for more details. Or you can mail a check to the P.O. box listed on the screen. For all of these methods except the last one, you can either pay in full or set up a payment plan, and you have a variety of approved payment methods as listed here on the screen. Please note, you can only send a check by mail. You cannot set up a payment plan through this method. As already mentioned, amnesty payment plans are a good way to give yourself more time to make your full amnesty payments. Setting up an amnesty payment plan by September 9th, 2026 extends your deadline to June 7th, 2027. Individuals must owe at least $100 and businesses must owe at least $500 to qualify. You can check your status and make payment plans through InTime or UCB's payment portal, which you'll be given more information on if you set up your payment directly with UCB. If you're currently on a non-amnesty payment plan for a liability that qualifies for amnesty, you'll be receiving a letter in the mail notifying you of amnesty and your options. Customers in this situation are not required to participate in the amnesty program. If you choose not to participate, your existing payment plan will continue under its original terms, and you will not incur any additional penalties or collection fees. But you will lose the opportunity to have related penalties, interest, and collection fees waived through amnesty. If you want to participate in amnesty, call us during the amnesty window to pay in full or set up an amnesty payment plan. You must take action to have another type of payment plan become an amnesty payment plan. It will not automatically transition to one during the amnesty program. If you have an appeal or protest in progress prior to amnesty, that appeal or protest will be put in a hold status. You will not be subject to the additional penalty if you choose not to participate in amnesty during the appeal protest process. However, you will not benefit from the waiver of penalties, interest, and collection fees through amnesty. If you choose to participate in amnesty, you will waive the right to appeal or protest that liability going forward. If you're applying for or already in progress on an existing offer in compromise or claim for hardship, and you are otherwise qualified for amnesty, you are not required to participate either. But you may take part in amnesty if you choose to do so. Contact the Taxpayer Advocate Office, TAO, for more information. Also, be aware, there are no payment plan extensions available for Tax Amnesty 2026, even in cases of severe financial or medical hardship. You can contact TAO for assistance outside of amnesty terms. Before we wrap up, I wanted to give you a few resources to help you learn more and proceed with next steps if you decide to participate in the program. The UCB phone line is the best way to make amnesty payments, set up payment plans, and discuss active amnesty cases. This phone number will be available starting June 15th, a month before amnesty begins. If you have an active in-time account, you can use it to learn exactly what liabilities you have that are eligible for amnesty, plus make payments and set up payment plans during the amnesty window. You can also use in-time to send us a message to DOOR's Amnesty Escalation Team. This is one of the best ways to get in touch with questions, particularly before June 15th. The Tax Amnesty website is also a good source of information, including FAQs, guides for specific scenarios like what to do if you need to close a business or file a return before participating in amnesty. If you're watching this video before amnesty officially begins, be aware that we will be updating the Tax Amnesty webpage with more information as we get closer to the start date and throughout the amnesty program. So check back for more information. Finally, I encourage you to sign up for DOOR email updates if you haven't already. You can do this by visiting the Contact Us page and signing up for agency announcements. Be sure to sign up for the monthly Tax Bulletin newsletter for the latest news from DOOR. That's it for now. Thank you for your time and attention. We're happy to be able to offer the Tax Amnesty 2026 program to Hoosier taxpayers. And if you're eligible to participate, we hope to hear from you between July 15th and September 9th. Have a good day.